Welcome to WYCE's Community Close-Up, our weekly public affairs program, produced in partnership with the Rapidian, our hyper-local news service at the Grand Rapids Community Media Center. Community Close-Up brings you a diverse perspective from community leaders throughout West Michigan. And it's WYCE station manager Phil Tower. This week on the program, we're bringing you the second part of our conversation with Hollin De La Cruz, coordinator with the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative, and also Omar Cuevas, Senior Vice President of Investor and Corporate Relations with the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce. Covered a lot of ground in this conversation, a game-changing and impactful conversation profiling the work done by so many people who are part of the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative. Now, here's our second part of that conversation on this week's Community Close-Up on WYCE. We're talking about the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative, and as you can tell, there's a lot to unpack here. In fact, I made in my notes the West Michigan Welcome Plan. It's a multi-organizational group made up of 50-plus organizations. And no, we're not going to list all of them in our remaining time, but you're talking school districts, nonprofit organizations, government agencies, businesses. It is a big collaborative because this touches so many different areas, you guys. And I want to go back to something you said, which is another thing that I think so many people don't think about, because it just, when we think about someone who is an immigrant, whether they are legally in this country or they fled and they're not here, they're here in a green card or whatever the status may be, we don't think of them as being people who had a purpose, who had, Omar, like you said, here's a woman who's prosecuting the law in Central America, and now she's working as a CNA, you said. Do we not have a better vetting process for these people when they come in? And I'll start with you, Hollin. Is that a challenge?
I think that's a hard no.
Really?
Yes, there's a better vetting process. No, that's not happening right now.
Why?
At the end of the day, actually, somebody made this really kind of nice analogy for me the other day, and I thought it was really impactful. And we're talking about federal immigration law is always decided by the federal government. And if that is something they have an opportunity to leverage that law in whatever manner they see fit. If we think of us as like a quilt or a tapestry, we could say, okay, these populations, according to the federal government, are no longer allowed. We could surgically remove the quilt and sew it back together, or we could rip it out. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing is there's not a lot of thought or intention put behind here. There's really currently not a legal pathway into the United States. So we're not seeing a lot of newcomer populations. We have an indefinite pause on the adjudication of any application in USCIS. So even if you are going through the legal pathways, like, you can still apply, people should apply, but you're probably not going to get an interview. That's not going to get processed. Mm-hmm. And so people are losing status because there's no pathway to status. And which
is unfortunate.
So frustrating and dangerous,
Yeah. While at the same time, Phil, when you look at the roles that refugee resettlement organizations have, they're charged in 90 days to be able to have someone that's an asylee, a refugee, come to the community, secure a job, their first job, get housing, etc. There's not a lot of time spent on what's the desired career path, right, and so on. So their job is to get job number one.
Right, and it's about first the basics, getting them shelter, getting them a job.
Correct, but it's not about getting them to their ideal or desired career path. Mm-hmm. And that's what we learned. When we created the plan, Phil, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't prescriptive based on the people around the table that are involved somehow in this work. We wanted to hear from immigrants themselves. So we had more than 800 individuals who participated in their surveys. And we wanted to make sure that the intentionality around gathering these voices was not just, let's have this survey available online in a couple different languages. No, we even addressed technology literacy barriers, ensuring that we worked with trusted centers of influence in communities. We did one-on-one interviews for those that didn't have the technology literacy to complete the survey. And then afterwards, we had focus groups to ensure that what we heard was really what they wanted to communicate. And what we learned is that individuals, they want to get to their desired career path. They don't want a hand out. They don't want to feel like they're a charge on society. They want to get to a place where they can live that American dream, and that is about providing for your family, working hard, because the immigrant experience is one of hard work. We know that Latinos in West Michigan have been here for 100 years, and they've grown our food that we eat for a long, long time. And so if you look at the entrepreneurial nature that immigrants have, it's about, providing for your family. And so now, what is our role? What's the employer's role to ensure that they are getting to know their new team members, to find out like what is your background and how can we help you unlock that potential as well?
There are 7 priority areas or work groups for the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative. One of them we've been speaking about a lot, and it's the first one on the list: maximize the economic potential of new Americans. Hard to argue with that at all, because it impacts so many other things in a positive way. Engaged communities, Hollin, you mentioned that. Providing equitable access to services, again, very important. Improving educational outcomes for new Americans, and literacy is a part of that as well too. Safe and connected communities, data and metrics, and funding developments. That's a pretty important list. There's a lot to deal with there. When you sat down and planned this all out, did anybody say, hey, maybe 5 are enough? Maybe 4?
Yes, it was 5, but now it's 7.
Yeah.
And that was because we wanted to make sure that we, as we continue to and apply different strategies with the Welcome Plan, that we had the data to say, okay, what are we learning? Right. At the same time, this work does require funding. And we are thankful that the city of Grand Rapids, that Kent County, that the Office of Global Michigan has invested in this work. There's a gap. There's still a financial gap. And so organizations that we look for to invest in this work are those that are benefiting from this, work as well that's being done. And so the Grand Rapids Chamber has served as fiduciary for this work. And so if there are organizations that want to make this work lighter, they could either participate in one of our different subgroups that we have, right? Whatever, one of the 7 that they find themselves either having the skill set or the passion for, or they could simply say, how can I financially support this work as well?
Yeah, the website, Hollin, says we are always accepting new members in our Welcome Plan Collaborative Priority Work Group. So I know there are people hearing us at the other end of the radio going, okay, I love what you guys are doing. I feel called to help out. How do they best interface with you?
Yeah. So thank you, Omar, for giving a little bit of insight into those work groups. We do have 7 work groups with really those 5 priority areas of education, economics, access to services, engaged communities, and community safety. We have a bi-weekly newsletter. It's the best way to stay connected with us and connect with the work. If somebody wants to join, you can subscribe to that at KentCountyNewAmericans.org. Those are loaded with any upcoming events, shared toolkits, resources. It's an opportunity for our many partners to also promote the good work that they're doing. We have roughly 60 organizations across 120 members in all of our work groups, because behind this, really the focus is like a systems level approach. And you can't do systems level approach without involving the different systems naturally. So we have a multi-sector team, but also a growing number of just community voices. These are individuals who said, hey, this is important to me and I want to be involved. I'd like to dedicate some time. So each work group meets either once a month or every other month, anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. We are always accepting volunteers. We also have one-off events. So we do Global Gathering in September. We're always accepting volunteers for that. And then as Omar mentioned, we are always eager to talk with sponsors or partners who want to contribute financially.
And those partners or sponsors could be people listening to us who own a small business or own a chain of stores or involved in any business. Who else would be?
Any individual that they feel are called to support this work. Again, this work is not for the faint of heart. And we want to make sure that the work that we do reflects the community that we want to be.
Right.
And that is a community that is vibrant, that is made up of the different, the diversity of the people that make the community. Just like we have a Polish festival, we have Oktoberfest. It's great to celebrate Lunar New Year and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And celebrating these diverse backgrounds does not in any way overshadow another one. It just enriches the experience for everyone that calls Grand Rapids, Kent County, West Michigan home.
Okay, real quickly, you have a storytelling for grants workshop coming up Thursday, April 30th, Hollin. Who should attend that?
So our grant writing workshops happen quarterly. These are intended for smaller grassroots nonprofits, especially immigrant and refugee-led nonprofits, but essentially it's free and open to anyone who just wants to get their hands on a little bit more information for grant writing. These started in 2023. We offer them every quarter, and last month was the first time that we saw national participation. So we had some grassroots ethnic community-based orgs from different states joining our virtual.
That's cool.
It was really cool. It was awesome to see. And then we are highlighting guest speakers. So this upcoming one, we're highlighting the Hispanic Center. They're going to share a little bit about their prowess with leveraging stories for grants. Soraya Velez, one of our steering committee members, also an educator, is going to be our guest speaker. And then we have a great team of grant writing consultants that will help people out at the end. And there's an opportunity to even get one-on-one time with a grant consultant, which is really cool.
Terrific. You can learn more about that at KentCountyNewAmericans.org. And as you heard Hollin say, sign up for the biweekly newsletter. That's the best way to stay plugged in and get connected with people like Omar and Hollin and everyone in the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative. It is a big group. And then real quickly, the event coming up in September, I think you mentioned a couple of those. It's only April as we're having this conversation, but more information will be coming out on that. Did you want to share a date, Hollin, or how can people stay tuned for learning more about the September event? Yeah,
so the Global Gathering, this will be our 4th year. Last year, we had our first partnership with Liberation Saturdays. It is on Saturday, September 12th at Garfield Park. And then our Maximize Economic Potential Summit will be on Friday, September 25th, location TBD.
Okay.
And they are a hoot and a holler, just in different languages.
Okay. It sounds like a lot of fun. Closing thoughts, important messages you want to leave with our listeners. Omar, I'll let you go first, just kind of putting a bow on this whole conversation.
Grand Rapids is living a moment right now. We're seeing transformational projects that future generations are going to be able to enjoy. Amphitheater, soccer stadium. We just learned about the aquarium. I think it's also time to say, how can we have the best city possible? How can we become the best ancestors for those future generations to look back and say we got it right regarding integrating and welcoming new Americans?
Agree 100%. Hollin.
I would just say that our end goal, our mission and vision is overall empowerment for our immigrant communities so that they can feel welcome, so that they can put down roots and thrive. And I know that Omar has like a special heart for Grand Rapids because of where he resides. But just knowing that we broadly cover West Michigan, so Ottawa, Kent counties, surrounding areas, anyone's welcome to join, and we'd love to have you.
I will say, as station manager for an independent community radio station, one of the most important conversations we've had on this program. So we are all in 100%, and I want to do more. I would love to someday have people that you've welcomed, whether they've been here a year or 15 months or 7 years. What a great thing to be able to tell their story on the radio. Can we work on that and make that happen?
Absolutely.
I would really love to do that. I want to thank both of our guests. It's been a really impactful conversation. So impactful that we made this a two-parter because sometimes that just happens in live radio. Hollin De La Cruz is coordinator with the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative. Omar Cuevas, Senior Vice President of Investor and Corporate Relations with the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce. And again, online, it is KentCountyNewAmericans.org. I'll give that to you a little slower. KentCountyNewAmericans.org. And you've been listening to WYCE's Community Close-Up, our weekly public affairs program, produced right here at the Community Media Center in downtown Grand Rapids, part of the hyperlocal news network at the Rapidian. I'm WYCE station manager Phil Tower. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.